Did you know that it was actually a Japanese diplomat who saved the most Jewish people during the Holocaust? He didn't use violence, weapons, or brute force, but rather a pen. And yet his government wanted him dead. What was this secret weapon? And what did he do to deserve such a fate? To find out more, stay tuned till the end of the video. Hello everyone. Here today we are going to talk about one of the most selfless men in history, a man whose name is almost unknown in our time, but who undoubtedly saved thousands of lives. We are talking about the Japanese consul in Lithuania, Chiune Sugihara. But how did he come to be in this position? And why did his superiors want him dead? In order to understand what happened later, we first need to go back to the beginning. The story begins in 1939, when Germany invaded Poland and began killing Jews in concentration camps. The world watched in horror at the atrocities taking place there. It became clear that the Germans were carrying out an organized genocide of the Jewish people. People around the world began to worry about what would happen next. At the time, the Japanese diplomat Chiune Sugihara was serving in Lithuania. He had been transferred to the Japanese consulate in Kaunas just a few months before the war broke out. Like the rest of the world, Sugihara was shocked by the news coming from Germany. When he heard about the horrible things that were happening to the Jews there, he felt compelled to do something. When World War II began, Lithuania found itself occupied by Germany, which meant that many Jews in the country were now at risk of being sent to concentration camps. This is when Sugihara decided to defy his government's orders and begin issuing visas to Jewish refugees, allowing them to flee to Japan. Why Japan? Because as an officer of the Japanese government, he could only issue visas to countries that Japan had diplomatic relations with. At the time, Japan and Lithuania were allies. Thus, he could grant Lithuanian Jews visas to travel to Japan, although no one there expected them since the Japanese government had banned immigration. The thing is that the Japanese government never even considered the possibility that it would have to accept refugees, so they certainly didn't expect thousands of Jews to arrive on their shores. But Sugihara didn't care about that. Every day he worked tirelessly in the consulate, signing as many visas as possible so that Jewish families could escape the Nazis. To make matters worse, the Japanese government soon noticed what Sugihara was doing and ordered him to stop. They sent a telegram to the consulate saying that he should not be issuing visas to Jews because it was endangering Japanese interests. But Sugihara continued to sign the visas anyway. He also helped the refugees in any way he could, providing them with food, medicine, and other necessities. It was also thanks to him that the Japanese consulate in Kaunas became known as the House of Life. At first, the Japanese government tried to punish him by transferring him to a less important post, but when that didn't work, they ordered his arrest. However, before they could carry out the order, Sugihara fled to Vilnius with the refugees. There he continued to help them until the end of the war. He helped them forge documents so they could travel under false identities and even put them up in hotels at his own expense. When the Soviets took over Lithuania, Sugihara realized that he was in danger. He knew that the Soviets would not allow him to continue helping the refugees, so he went into hiding. For the next few years he moved from place to place, always trying to stay one step ahead of the Soviets. All the time he was in hiding, he continued to help the refugees in any way he could, sending them food and money. Finally, in 1947, Sugihara managed to escape to Japan. He was now a wanted man in the Soviet Union and could have been arrested if he set foot there. Despite the danger, Sugihara returned to Lithuania several times to help the refugees. He risked his life to save as many people as possible. In total, it is estimated that Sugihara personally issued around 2,000 visas, which allowed around 6 million Jews to escape from the Nazis. In addition, he is believed to have saved another 60,000 people through other means. The real number of people whose lives were saved thanks to Sugihara may never be known. What makes Sugihara's story even more amazing is that he was not motivated by any particular ideology, but simply by his own sense of humanity. In an interview, he was asked why he had risked his life to save the Jews, to which he replied that he had simply done what he thought was right. After the war, Sugihara returned to his post at the Japanese Foreign Ministry. He continued to serve the government until his retirement in 1958. Even after he stopped working, he remained active. He gave lectures at universities and wrote books about his experiences during the war. Sugihara was awarded many honors for his bravery and humanity, including the Righteous Among the Nations Award from Israel. He received this award in 1968, although he was already very ill at the time. He died in Tokyo in 1986 at the age of 85. Even though he is no longer with us, his legacy lives on. The story of Chiune Sugihara reminds us that even in the darkest of times, one person can make a difference. It also shows us that it is not enough to stand by and watch while terrible things happen. Sometimes we must take action ourselves, no matter what the risks may be. In this story, the main character, Chiune Sugihara, was a Japanese diplomat who lived during the Second World War. He was a brave man who risked his life to save the Jews from the Nazis. What makes him an interesting character is that he was not a soldier or a member of some special organization. Rather, he was an ordinary man who found himself in an extraordinary situation and chose to act in accordance with his conscience. One of the things that made Chiune Sugihara such a great hero is that he acted without any personal gain. He did not do what he did for fame or fortune, but simply because he felt it was the right thing to do. This makes his story all the more inspiring as it shows that anyone can be a hero if they have the courage to do what is right. Another aspect that makes this story so powerful is the contrast between what Chiune Sugihara did and what the Japanese government wanted. The government wanted him to stop issuing visas to the Jews, but he refused to listen to them. He knew that he was risking his life by doing so, but he didn't care. This shows us that it is sometimes necessary to go against the current and not follow blindly those in power. Finally, it is worth highlighting the fact that Chiune Sugihara was not the only one who saved Jewish lives during the Second World War. There were many people who risked their lives to help the Jews escape from the Nazis. However, his story is particularly remarkable because it is not as well known as that of others. In conclusion, the story of Chiune Sugihara is that of a brave man who risked his life to save the Jews during the Second World War. His example inspires us to be better people and to act according to our conscience, no matter what the cost may be. Although he is no longer with us, his legacy will live on forever. If you like stories of heroism, then you should definitely subscribe to the channel. Also, please hit the bell button to be notified of new releases. See you soon. Bye.